Do you want to climb the ranks in Marvel Rivals with aspirations of achieving ranks like Eternity or One Above All? But no matter what you do, you feel like you're completely stuck in your rank, or in other words, you just can't pull yourself out of low elo hell. Well, you are certainly not alone, with less than 0.1% of active players reaching the Eternity or the One Above All rank last season. It's clear that players are getting stuck in their ranks. And by watching some live streams of players ranging from down in Silver and Gold all the way up to Celestial, I've noticed the same few mistakes occurring over and over. And in this video, I laid out the 8 most common mistakes I've noticed, and I truly believe that if you're able to cut these mistakes out of your game, or at least keep them to a limit, then you will easily find yourself climbing the ranked ladder. If you don't know me, hey, I'm Esidi. I've got a career peak of 367 in One Above All so far, and I play a ton of different heroes from every role. I love to make videos such as this one to help other players improve and become the best they can be in Marvel Rivals, or so they can simply just have more fun playing the game. So one of the biggest mistakes I see almost every player make is over-validating themselves through their stats. You see, a lot of players will start losing a match and start to say things such as, how are we losing? I have blank amount of damage. Or I can't do any more. I already have blank amount of healing. I'm here to remind you that to climb the ranks, these statistics don't really matter. In fact, the only stat that makes a major difference is your win rate. The higher the win rate, the more you're going to climb no matter what the rest of the stats are. So maybe you do have a ton of damage every single match, but it could be that all you're doing is shooting mindlessly at the vanguards while they're being constantly healed. And if you think about it, the only effect your damage would be having is helping the other specialists build up their ultimates faster. And with a strategist ults being so incredibly strong that they can win a team fight on their own, you don't want to be making their job any easier than you have to. Now, if you had half of your damage, but instead of shooting mindlessly at the enemy's front line, instead you're getting constant picks on the enemy's healers, then I would say that even with a lower damage stat, you would be getting way more value. It's a similar story with healing. You may have a lot of healing, but if all you're doing is healing your frontline tanks all game while letting your duelists die off cooldown, then you aren't actually playing your role effectively. Then even worse is if you aren't protecting and healing the other strategists on your team. One of, if not the most important role you have as a strategist is to keep your other strategists alive. And there's no stats that will reward you for that. In fact, the stats will almost contradict it. Theoretically, if you never gave support to the other strategists on your team, then yes, you will have some impressive healing stats, but that would only be because the other healer on your team has been dead all game because of the lack of support they receive. I'd even say that most of the high impact plays you make in a match that determine whether you either win or lose have no stats associated with them. There is no stats for canceling an enemy ultimate, nothing for destroying a raccoon's BRB to prevent the respawn, which is basically the same thing as getting a solo kill, or saving a teammate with a well-timed shield. This list goes on, but I'm sure you're getting the point. Stats do not accurately reflect on the value you're providing, and they can be just very misleading. And now to the next mistake I see players make, which is a lack of experimenting with different heroes. There's a large chunk of players that take pride in only playing a few different heroes every single match and never switching it up, but I personally think you should give every single hero in the game a try. It will broaden your skill set and you'll be able to build strong team synergies and abuse team ups more often. And then you can always adapt your hero choices to counter the enemies. The more heroes you can learn, the more prepared you'll be in any given situation. And even if you experiment with a hero and spend some time learning their playstyle, but you never take them into a ranked match, that is still not a waste of time whatsoever. So hear me out, when you learn what it's like to play a certain hero, you develop a deeper understanding of what you can do to support that hero when they are one of your teammates. And then when that hero is against you, it's like having a glimpse into the enemy's mindset, and you can have an easier time predicting what they're going to do. You'll also learn what heroes and strategies counter or completely shut down each hero. I do believe that you should try and specialize on a few different heroes so you can gain the most experience possible with the time you have. But before that, you should definitely give each hero a try for the bare minimum of 1 game, and then learn 2 to 3 heroes from each role. Having a couple of different heroes you're comfortable with on each role will ensure that you can change things up when your match is looking like a lot. Especially with how often Marvel Rivals releases new hero buffs, nerfs, and changes to the team ups. You don't want to be stuck on only one hero and letting the current meta determine your rank. Then at least in my opinion, switching things up and playing a variety of heroes makes the game way more fun and keeps me playing for longer. Then the longer I play, the better I become and the higher I climb the ranks. Then the next mistake is so easy to fix, but it seems like players completely overlook it. And that's going into your first competitive match cold. Take a bit of time and warm up. All it takes is about 2 minutes, and the difference in your aim, movement, and reaction time will be way better. It doesn't need to be anything complicated. A couple minutes shooting bots in the practice range challenge or a quick do match can make a major difference in your first ranked match. If you go in cold, you're essentially treating the first round each day as your warm-up, and you'll be wasting those first few minutes making careless mistakes or missing all your shots, which will just make it more difficult to climb the ranks, which can also lead to the next mistake, which is one of the most important mistakes to avoid, and that is tilt queuing. So tilt queuing by definition is immediately queuing for another match after a difficult and frustrating loss. It's playing game after game while feeling angry, frustrated, and stressed, or in gamer terms, playing while you are feeling tilted. Players will immediately finish a tilting match and think something along the lines of, I have to play again to make up for that loss, which only ever leads to a vicious cycle of losses. When you play the game tilted, your decision making takes a hit and you begin playing a lot more selfishly. On top of that, you're more than likely getting flooded with stress and putting your body into a fight or flight mode, where you stop making active, conscious decisions. Instead, you put yourself into an autopilot panic mode. I suggest that as soon as you notice you're getting tilted after a match, take a short break, grab some water, go pet your dog, or play a quick play match. These activities can act as a sort of mental reset to clear away the frustrations. You can go into your next competitive match playing your best. It sounds very simple, and it is, but it makes a huge difference. Now, this next mistake may sound obvious, but so many low elo players still fall victim to it, and that's not utilizing audio to your advantage. Almost every little event in a match has its own unique audio cue associated with it, and the more you can memorize each one, the better your chances are of noticing them in a match. The first and the most important audio cues you need to learn are the ultimate abilities of each hero. Every hero has their own unique voice line when they use their ultimate, then they also have a different voice line from that hero is on the enemy team using their ultimate. Once you memorize the ultimates, you can take it a step further and learn the sound cues from the other hero's abilities. That's definitely going to take a lot more time and will be a bit harder than memorizing the ultimates. And then if you really want to set yourself apart from other players, you can learn the sound of the different footsteps from each hero. And yes, each hero has their own unique footstep or flying sound. If you play mostly Vanguard or Duelist, then it probably isn't worth the time or the effort to learn the different footsteps. But if you mainly play Strategist, then it can be very helpful to be able to differentiate each hero. If you play Strategist, I'm sure you know that there's almost always someone trying to sneak up behind you and take you out. Recognizing this early and knowing which hero it is could help you better prepare and stay alive longer. But of course, none of this will matter if you're blasting music in your ears to the point where you can't hear anything. And it also won't matter if you keep making the next mistake, holding your ultimate too long. Originally, I was going to make this about wasting your ultimate, but I've noticed that way more players just hold on to the ultimate too long, and I would rather see them waste it and just use it more often. Almost every single low elo player I've watched are scared to use their ultimate. They have some sort of idea in their head that they either need a perfect ultimate or there is no reason to use it. When in reality, I think they'll have a lot more success if they simply used it more often. Sure, a perfectly timed ultimate that wins a team fight is nice, but if you have to sit on that ultimate for minutes at a time just to find that opportunity to use it, then you are missing out on a ton of value. I think that for most players, using that ultimate right away so they can immediately start building up to that next one will help them out in the long run. And if you use your ultimate more often, you'll just get way more experience with it. Don't get me wrong, you don't want to be wasting your ultimate off cooldown. And if your team has clearly already won the fight, or if they already lost the fight, then it might be best to save it for the next battle. But in general, if you're on the fence, you should try using your ultimate more often. But something you should definitely not be doing more often is making the next mistake, blaming every loss on your teammates. I'd say probably over 90% of players do this every single match. They start losing and they start thinking things like, if I got more heals, we would have won. Or if my teammates played better heroes, we would have won. And to be honest, a lot of the time they might even be right. Maybe the team didn't play that great and maybe they were making a ton of their own mistakes. But blaming everything on your team does nothing to help you improve. After every match, take a second to reflect on the game and ask yourself what you could have done better. Maybe it's changing heroes sooner, maybe you didn't have the best aim, or maybe you could have used your microphone to give your team some callouts. Marvel Rivals is so dynamic, and no matter how good you think you are at the game, there is always something you could have done better. The more time you spend reflecting on your own mistakes, the more you can correct them, and the higher you will climb up the rank ladder. And oh my, it is even worse when you start to actively blame other players over the mic or in text chat. This will immediately make other players defensive, and one of two things will happen. And trust me, this happens pretty much every single time. Either they will lose all their confidence, get tilted, and play even worse, or often they will purposely throw the match. Negatively and actively blaming your teammates pretty much never helps you win a match, but none of the previous mistakes even matter if you're still making the next mistake, going in blind every match. There is so much depth to this game, and there's so much you need to learn if you want to compete with the best. From the optimal settings, the hero meta, map specific tricks, and so much more that you can't learn from just mindlessly playing ranked all day. Which is why you should watch these videos so you can learn everything you need to know to climb through the ranks in Marvel Rivals. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.